Have you ever wondered if you could make your own spiral wound tubes? That's what I'm going to show you in this video.
Welcome to Advanced Construction Videos, where we show you how to tackle rocketry, building techniques, and more. On our website, we sell kits, motors, building supplies, and electronics. So come and learn, shop, build, and fly when you visit us at apogeerockets.com.
Hi, I'm Tim Van Milligan from Apogee Components. There are occasions where you might want to make your own tubes. It's not very often, but it might happen. For instance, we had a customer that called us and he was trying to create a BT60 size tube, and he needed a coupler in there that was long enough for his electronics. So on the TTV, what we did, this was the coupler we used, but we needed a rocket where we could mount the electronics on one side of the board, and the electronics was an altimeter or a timer plus a battery. So you can see, it takes up quite a bit of room, but we only had this coupler available. It's fairly short. So what we did in our case was we take the coupler and we laser cut it in a specific way, in a specific pattern, and we were able to join it together to create a longer coupler. But if you don't have the facilities and the equipment like we do, making that coupler is going to be a little bit of a challenge. So you might want to make your own, and that's what I advised the customer that he could probably do if he was really interested in doing it. So to make a tube like this that's quite a bit longer, and this is a coupler, you're going to need some tools, and the biggest tool you're going to need is a mandrel. The mandrel needs to be smaller. So this is the BT60 tube, and then this is the mandrel. You can see it's very sloppy in there. Because we're going to build up paper around it. So we're going to wrap the paper around this to create the tube. So you need something that is smaller in diameter than this. What I did was I went on the Apogee website and I found the dimensions for the regular coupler. And then I said, okay, I'll make my mandrel the inside diameter of this because I already knew that. So then I 3D printed a mandrel, and you're probably wondering, well, why can't I just 3D print the coupler? And you probably can. It makes sense that you might want to do that because it's a lot easier. But the disadvantage is this is heavy, where this is super lightweight. So making a cardboard coupler like this out of paper makes some sense if weight is consideration. So I've made my mandrel, I sanded it smooth. It's not perfect, but it doesn't need to be perfect because this is going on the inside of the rocket and nobody's going to see it. And actually, this actually has a pretty good surface, so I'm not too worried about it. I could actually use this on the outside if I sanded it down and sealed everything up. Okay, so that's the most important thing, is to have a mandrel. It needs to be longer than the coupler that you're trying to make. And I made mine a lot longer, and I actually did it in two pieces and spliced it together. So I actually have a little seam here, but it's pretty close. Then you're going to need some strips of paper. It doesn't have to be brown paper like this. This is the paper that we had available here in the shop. If you order from Apogee, you get our boxes, and in the boxes we use paper for packing. And they come on a big long roll. So this is the long roll that I had available, and I just cut some strips from that. And you can see it's exactly as wide as my ruler, because what I did was I took the long sheets of paper and then just cut the strips by laying the ruler on it so that I had nice parallel edges along the sides of the paper. All right, so then you have your strips of paper, and you're going to need a number of strips of paper, and you're probably going to have to experiment a little bit. So go ahead and cut up more than you need. So that's our paper. You're also going to need some wax paper. we're going to take our mandrel and wrap it in wax paper so that the glue that we use, and we're just going to use some carpenter's wood glue, and you're going to need some water, and I have a container of water over here and another little bucket that I'm going to put the glue in. And basically that's all you're going to need. Maybe I got a big wide paintbrush because I'm going to paint on the glue, and I got scissors and a hobby knife and another smaller ruler. And I use the smaller ruler for this. I already cut the wax paper to the, and I don't even know how long it is. It doesn't matter how long it is, but if your mandrel is too skinny, you can actually build the thickness up using wax paper, and it works out really well for that. So have a roll of wax paper available as well. I'm trying to get stuff off the table. So our first thing we're going to do is we're going to roll the mandrel in the wax paper. And as I said, what this is going to do, it's going to do two things. One is to build up the inside diameter to the right diameter that you may need. And then the second thing is it's going to prevent the glue from the paper sticking to the mandrel, and that will make it easier to get off. So we're just going to roll it around. And I want to go at least 2 layers thick. You can see, so I got 1 layer already, and to me it doesn't really matter. I know from experience, because you're going to play around with this, that you're going to check the fit of your final coupler in the tube, and this one fits pretty nice. I could think it could use a little, maybe 1 more wrap of paper. So instead of adding a wrap of paper on the outside, I can wrap the wax paper around the inside and just make the inside thicker so that the outside becomes thicker as well. So once you get it wrapped around, the next thing we need to do is to seal it off. And you're going to take, you can take a pen or the back end of a hobby knife, and you're going to burnish that edge with the knife. And what that does is it smashes down. Basically, you're taking the wax in the wax paper, and you're kind of melting it all together. And we're going to want to do this to the entire tube. So I'm going to take a couple of minutes right here, and I'll probably pause the video as I'm sitting here just burnishing the whole mandrel, kind of, getting all the layers to adhere to each other. They're not going to be like super, you're still going to be able to peel it apart, but it's going to make everything nice and tight, and you're going to work out all the little air bubbles inside. Okay, so I'm done burnishing that. Our next thing is to get one of our strips of paper. Well, actually, we need to get our glue ready. So here I just have a container, and I'm going to squeeze some glue into it. And then I'm going to thin it out with some water. And I got this other container of water because I'm going to keep my paintbrush soaked in it. Because I want that way the glue doesn't harden the bristles. Okay, so then I'm going to mix my water and glue around. Make sure it's all mixed together. You want it pretty thin because we're going to put it on the paper, and we want a nice even coat. And the thinner it is, the more even it will be. Okay, so I have that and that. Now I can take a strip of paper, and we're going to test fit this first by wrapping it around the tube. And when we wrap it around, we want, obviously we want it to, the edges to just meet up like that. And then we want to try to slide it this way so we can get as much of the mandrel on there as possible. So now, actually on this very first wrap, I want just a little bit of overlap, because that way when we put glue on it, we're actually gluing the paper together and we're not putting glue on the inside of the mandrel, or on the inside that's against the mandrel. Okay, so like that. Okay, so I want to hold it there. You can see I'm overlapping probably about 1/4 of an inch. It doesn't have to be that much. It's really not that critical. So now what I want to do is to hold this down and kind of unwrap it. And it's this edge right here that I want to apply glue to. So I'm going to take my glue, just run it along that edge. So I'm not putting glue on the whole sheet of paper right now. I'm just putting it on the edge that's going to overlap. And I didn't get it quite right. So I just need to shift my paper around again, because I do want a little bit of overlap. And again, you can see I got probably 1/4 of an inch. I'm just going to roll it tight. And the advantage of spiral wound paper is that you can pull it really tight. If we try to do this convolutely wound, which is just wrapping it around, it'd be a lot harder to put it on. So again, I'm just extending my line of glue and rolling it around. And that looks actually pretty good. I'm liking it. Okay, and continue to put glue on that edge. Just rolling it around. You're probably going to want to have some paper towels available to wipe off your table. Okay, so now I'm over the edge of the tube and my paper is kind of too long. So this is where the scissors comes in handy. And first I'm going to cut off that. And I'm trying to see where it overlaps. I'm just going to cut that off. There, like that. Now on this edge here, my edge of my mandrel is right there. So I didn't get all the way up, but it's close enough. And you can see I got a little bit of a fold right here. So I'm going to kind of pull that tight. And it's probably doing that because I didn't get glue on everything, and the paper has kind of shrunk a little bit. But it looks pretty good. You can kind of work out those and burnish those down, those little folds of paper. You want it nice and tight, because otherwise you're going to get air bubbles between your layers. So that's the first layer. So we're going to pause here in this video and we're going to continue it the next time. And in that next time, we're going to put on the additional layers. We're going to test fit it. We're going to let it dry, and we're going to remove it from the mandrel and then trim it up. So my name is Tim Van Milligan. You've been watching the Apogee Rocketry Workshop. May the winds be light. May the skies be blue. May all your rockets fly straight and true.